Now we have Pete Jenkins. Pete is an international authority on gamification, lifelong gamer, successful entrepreneur and lecturer. He'll be discussing how to lead a gameful, work-from-home culture, talking through simple approaches to motivate and engage employees. As CEO of Gamification Plus, he mentors and trains companies worldwide on the use of gamification to solve business challenges. To anyone currently leading a virtual team, you couldn't be in more experienced hands.
Good day to you. Welcome to this session on leading a gameful work from home culture, led by me, Pete Jenkins. Very briefly about me, I run local Brighton company Gamification Plus Limited. I'm the CEO. We do all sorts of consulting, training, and working with companies on how to apply gamification principles to their businesses. We've been doing it pretty well internationally, and we won the Department for International Trade Export Award, or the Board of Trade Award, which we were awarded in January 2019. And as a result of that, I've ended up with the lovely title of Export Champion from the Department for International Trade. As a gamifier, I think it's great to have the word champion in your job title, so I had to say yes to that, really. I am also the honorary ambassador for GamFed. I used to be chair. This is the international body for gamification, and there we are all about spreading best practices. So doing things like this webinar are a great idea. I also lecture locally at the University of Brighton on the subjects of gamification and entrepreneurship. I love the mix of games and business, and I've been doing that for over 11 years. And I used to be entrepreneur in residence there as well. I've ended up running the Gamification Europe conference, which is the main conference in Europe around our subject. And also out of that, founded the Gamification Awards, or that's more global. But between the two of those, I get to see quite a lot of the latest ideas and case studies of gamification around. I'm also, as you can tell, a collector of job titles, but I'm an ambassador for Brighton and Hove Chamber of Commerce, and I occasionally guest lecture at other universities such as King's College in London and ESCP Europe, a really great business school out of France. On the screen there, you also see some screenshots from a game called Homescapes. I was thinking about what to put as my favorite game to play at the moment. And I wouldn't call this my favorite game, but I have played like 1,200 levels of it in the last few months, which I think means I'm playing it more than any other, even if it's a bit like Candy Crush, to be honest. And what I really want you to do is tell me what your favorite game is. Perhaps your favorite game, whether it's a board game, video game, mobile game, maybe your favorite game ever, also maybe what you're playing now while we're in lockdown. I really feel like I want to join in the chat as well. So I think I will clone myself. Hello. Hello. Have you spun up as a clone? I'm a clone. I'm a clone. What would you like me to? Okay. Okay. I'll dive into the chat while you deliver the webinar. Good idea. Good idea. Right. Looking forward to saying hello to everyone. Brilliant. Now I can be in two places at once. So let us know in the chat what games you're playing, and I'll be joining in over there at the same time. Right, my plan through the rest of this session is basically to look at some simple approaches for how to lead a playful culture in your organization. I'm going to start with why that's a good idea, how to transition from whatever fun you were having in the workplace, hopefully you were having some, to how to do it remotely. Then I'm going to look at why you should be a selfless game playing leader and what that means. And then also about how to choose between synchronous or asynchronous play with your teams. Each has different benefits. So, generally speaking, the research shows that gamification, where it's applied in an organization, makes employees more productive, more engaged, and happier at work. So we're working from that underlying principle. And my friend Bernardo shared this on Facebook the other day. I think it's really timely. But to my parents who said staying home and playing video games would never prepare you for the real world, checkmate. What a useful skill we have right now, particularly if you've been furloughed as well. So what is a gameful company culture, or why do we want one? Well, the research seems to show that a playful business culture leads to higher morale overall, and it can help employees feel a real sense of belonging as well, which particularly now with disparate and geographically spread. That's really important. It's also been shown that video games can make you less antisocial, i.e. more social. This is particularly useful right now as well. My cloned me is probably going to put some of these links in the chat as well while we're going along. And the last key benefit, I mean there are others, but these are my favourite ones, is that playing games actually makes you more creative as well. And there's some great research about that. It can expose you to really imaginative worlds. I really like the world of Journey, the game Journey. And games challenge you with all sorts of challenges to help you create and solve problems, which makes you more creative as well. So how do we move from one place to the other? I don't know what your workplace looked like. Were you playing with Lego, like I've got on the screen here? Or did you occasionally, a few of you, go to the console corner together and play some Super Mario Kart? In fact, why don't you tell me in the chat what games you played? Yeah. So for instance, I really like table tennis. I missed that. It's difficult to play against yourself. That's me looking quite competitive there on the screen. Some people like to solve puzzles. This is one we brought into the co-working space, the projects, a while back. And some people like to play collaborative, cooperative games. The last game we basically played in person as a team was Pandemic, which is maybe a little bit topical right now, but it's a really good cooperative game. It's quite challenging and gets you working together in teams. So let's hear in the chat, whichever side it is for you. What did you play at work? Now, for me, also, you've got to watch out. What games you play mean different things to different members of staff. The game I'm really missing right now is playing table football or football. I found it a really useful mental break that broke up the day, particularly when I got stuck creatively. I could go and do it. Also, I'm pretty super competitive, so I would really, really get into it. To other people in the team, it was a chance to bond, chat, and catch up. Although I found that if I was chatting, I was losing concentration and I wouldn't win. So I didn't really catch up over it. But I did bond over a game. So what did the games you were playing in your workplace, what were you getting out of them? Let's add that into the chat as well. And then I thought, there's different things that we get from different games. So I broke them up loosely into three different types. Exciting ones where you get the mental release and you're feeling competitive. So that's games like the table football for me. And what might that look like online? Well, things like Fortnite's Battle Royale is quite a cool way of getting that excitement all at the same time as a bunch of other people. I really like bonding games, so cooperative games, stuff where you play together, you can share failures, successes together. And then also, can we put together or find learning games, which appeals to other types? So you've got word and puzzle games, quizzes, things like that. And they all add different elements to your playful culture. So how do you go about finding replacement games? Well, the first thing is, you don't have to do it all yourself. The first step in the playful culture is actually to ask your staff what games they'd like to play. And in fact, you should find that they quite enjoy thinking about it. I put a post out a few weeks ago now, asking my staff, and the first response was, "Ooh, exciting, fantastic." So do that first. Right, the next step. Why you should be a selfless game playing leader. Well, what is that? Well, I think you may have already realized I'm quite a competitive game player, and that's not necessarily the best way to bring all your staff with you on this playful journey. I'm going to illuminate this point by showing you how I got it wrong, first of all. With my colleague Vasilis, in fact, a while ago, he suggested a game himself called Battle for Polytopia. So he found it, he suggested it, I really liked it, and maybe I got carried away playing it on super difficult level, and I'm now quite good at it. But as soon as we were remote working, I challenged him to a game, but I was probably too good. And very swiftly, the conversation went along these lines. "You're too good, perhaps we could play something else." And I'm still quite enjoying the game at this point, but very early on, he resigns from the game. In what way is that good for morale? And it wasn't much fun for me either. He got replaced by a bot, which was, it's much more fun to play other people. Now, luckily, I then got it right with another member of staff, Kira. In this instance, she chose the game, which was Word Blitz, and she wiped the floor with me. She was really, really good. And we're still playing now. I don't enjoy it quite as much because I lose, but it's good to be engaged with a member of staff with the game of their choice. So in other words, to build a playful culture and to be a selfless game playing leader, you need to be prepared to play anything. Yeah, in order to show that playing is allowed, that it's fun, that you don't have to win, even though you're the boss, and that you're prepared to back your staff choices. Interesting side effect of this is you're also increasing the amount of trust and autonomy in the remote working situation at the same time through the use of games as well as in the projects and things you might be working on. So as an example, with my staff, I would even be willing now to play a game of Mario Kart, even though I know I would be that car in last place, because that's really not my type of game. I'm not good at those. Not good at those at all. So be prepared to play anything. What about what I was talking about with synchronous and asynchronous games? So synchronous is where you play at the same time, and asynchronous is turn-based. What does this mean? Well, synchronous, the fun side of this is I've seen quite a lot recently people using the game Kahoot for virtual pub quizzes and things. And that means you're all playing at the same time. It's quite exciting. Maybe you can even see everyone on the screen and doing it. Okay. Asynchronous is not happening or done at the same time. So a good way of thinking about this is where you just take turns and the other person can play whenever they like. So in this example, works with friends. I take a turn, then someone else takes a turn, maybe a few hours later, maybe the next day. It's up to them. So what are the pros and cons of these? Well, synchronous games, they're much more exciting. Yeah, everyone's playing at the same time. It's a heightened social experience. We're really bonding well, and it's quite exciting. Asynchronous games are a bit more practical, though. Yeah, you can work it around people's different working hours. Some of my staff are part-time, and in fact, between all of them, there's not one single day where everyone is working. So it's really difficult to find a time where I could ask everyone to play a game together. So an asynchronous game allows, once again, for more autonomy, letting staff choose when and where they work and play. To put all this in perspective, there's some great statistics. There's a chart on the screen, which is actually that the most engaging, the most amount of engagement we get from playing games is pretty much almost exactly as strong online as it was when we were in the same geographical location. So here we've got cooperative games with our friends in the same location, a certain amount of engagement. Pretty much exactly the same level of engagement, maybe even slightly more with male friends if we're just with the same friends playing a cooperative game online. And it's not that different for a competitive game where we're playing against friends. So that holds great hope for how we play games together remotely in our teams at this time. And it's not just about games, by the way, playful culture. So we can look at a practical work example here. We use a system called Gel, which enables us to do a daily stand-up meeting asynchronously. So a daily stand-up meeting is where everyone on the staff says what they accomplished yesterday, what they're working on today, and whatever challenges they're facing. But they choose when they can put that data on the system, and then the system shares it with everyone when it's complete for the day. So once again, it's trust and autonomy, but I also feel part of a bigger team of people working on stuff. It's a nice way of looking at those type of products as well and sharing. And I just want to end with some ideas on how you could get started with something like this. I was thinking about the next virtual meeting you may hold. I've got a tool, one of the tools in our set that I really like using is the player journey, which is a 4-phase journey of discovery, onboarding, habit building or playing the game itself, and mastery. So basically, discovery is about getting people excited about your game. Onboarding is about getting them comfortable with it, understanding how it works. And habit building is playing the game itself. And then mastery is what you do when you've finished or when people are really good at it. So if this was a Dungeons and Dragons inspired meeting next time, which I just started playing with my daughter, because it can keep you busy for hours, by the way. Top tip for playing with children, Dungeons and Dragons. So if I was going to do this about my next virtual meeting, the discovery phase, I might create some suspense, get people excited about what might happen. Something different is going to happen at this next virtual meeting. What is it? What's it going to be? In the onboarding phase, I'm going to send them some preparatory materials, set the scene, maybe let the attendees know what to expect, maybe start choosing potential roles they might be playing during the meeting. During the meeting itself, I'll get people to play those different roles, whether it's a mage or a wizard or something a bit more realistic or real world, like a chronicler or minute taker. I might make up some roles like professional cynic or the blind optimist, so people have different approaches to how they interact with the session. Just remember, this first time or two, you're the dungeon master, so you're choosing the scenarios and the challenges they face to make it more interesting. And then at the end of the mastery phase, how do we celebrate the successful meeting? We can celebrate it in some way, send a certificate, give them some experience points. Maybe that helps towards building a character that enables them to play differently the next virtual meeting. Yeah. Or give them a virtual item as a reward. Let me know how you get on with gamifying your next interaction with your remote team. We've talked about a few different games throughout this session. And I said a good place to start is to ask your staff what games they're playing. Now, sometimes when you ask people outright from a blank sheet, they haven't really got, they have a sort of creative blank moment. So we've put together a list. This is my colleague Ella. She's put together a list of games that people are playing at the moment while they're stuck at home. And we've sourced this from the gamification community for the most part and put them together all in a blog post, which my clone is going to post the link into the chat for you right now as well, or you can scan the QR code and go to the page. And there's some ideas to get you started on games to play. And at the moment, I would really like to help people actually put a playful culture in place as fast as possible. So I've started the Gameful Leadership Guild. First group met last week and is meeting again tomorrow, if I've got my dates right. This is a weekly online meeting facilitated by me in small groups to help people leaders who are implementing a playful culture or gameful remote working culture. I run it in an action learning style so that we learn from each other in a confidential space so we can talk about real problems. And you come back the next week and you say exactly what you implemented, more problems you overcame or need to overcome. The first 2 sessions are free to attend. And I imagine after the initial sprint, because I want people to really actually get their remote gameful cultures working, it would move to a more traditional bi-weekly or monthly approach after the pandemic. But that'll be up to the group to decide, probably. I think that wraps it up nicely. It remains for me to say thank you very much for playing. These are lots of different ways of getting in contact with me. And if you want to book a free 20-minute video call with me, you can scan this QR code and just choose a slot that suits you. You can talk about anything gamification related, ask me about the Gameful Leadership Guild, or just top tips on your remote culture, and set that up. Choose the slot that works for you. I'll probably share a link to this in the chat as well, won't I, clone? Yeah, good. Excellent. Thank you very much. Goodbye for now.